If the title was a little too confusing, today I'm going to be doing a Minecraft structure tier list of every structure, including a couple that are just considered structures. But first, a couple ground rules. First, I'm only going to be covering variants. I'm only going to be covering a variance of structures separately if there's only two variants of each structure. So I'll do the ocean rules, I'll do the mine shafts. I'm not going to do anything else that has more than two variants. So I'm not going to do the villages. The fossils only have one for representing all the fossils and one representing all the villages. I'm not gonna rank every village and every variant of fossil, especially since the fossils are basically the exact same. So yeah, with those ground rules set, let's rank our first structure, which is funnily enough the ancient city. So hopefully these tiers should be pretty self-explanatory. So the ancient city is one of the newer structures, I guess. Newer, I guess. I don't know if it's really new anymore, but it's newish, I guess. Now the loot can be very, very good. You can actually, I think you can get full diamond blocks. I think if you find it right city, or I know you can get diamond equipment and stuff like that. You can get diamond hose like those useful. You can get some diamond gear. You can get, this is a very good place to get naturals. There's a lot of very good loot you can get here. It's also the biggest structure in the game. However, of course, like the entire deep dark biome, there's the threat of the warden. Now the threat of the warden does make this city very dangerous. However, the loot can be very, very good. There could be diamond equipment, notch apples, and this is actually the best place to get notch apples. I don't know about putting it in amazing though, because I'm gonna put it at the very top of great, because considering the heavy danger this structure has, I think that does make it a little less than amazing. I'll put it in great. Now we have the bastions. The bastion. I know there's multiple variants. I'm not ranking all of them. The bastions are really good structures. The I don't know if they're the main nether structure. They're one of them, and bastions are pretty good. So first off, they're great for a bartering, because you can trade with because there's a lot of piglins there. They're also required at this point for making netherite. After the 1.20 update, they're now required for making netherite, which I find kind of annoying, but also kind of cool. Now, bastions can have a lot of good treasure from even more diamond gears in ancient cities, I believe. Notch apples are not as frequently as ancient cities, and they have a lot of gold blocks. Really, the loot in bastions is very good. The loot kind of depends at least a little bit on the variant, although not that much. Bastions can have a lot of very good loot, ranging from gold blocks, which is very useful since you can trade with piglins there, which can get you a lot of cool things. Diamond equipment in the chests, netherite ingots, netherite scraps, debris, all that stuff. And of course, another thing you need from bastions to get netherite, the smithing template. You also can get Big Step, which is the best sound music of the entire game, and you can also get a smithing what's it called, armor trim. But that's for almost every structure in this game. I'm gonna put it in gray. I don't know. Is it amazing? I mean, I don't know. I'll make a case that it could be better in ancient cities. I mean, the piglin boots can be kind of dangerous, though. They're a lot easier to fend off than the warden, and you can completely avoid interacting with it. But you can do with the warden, but they're safer. I don't know. Are they amazing? I'll put them in the top of great for now. Maybe I'll move it later, but I want to move on. I don't want this to be a very slow-paced video. Oh, now we got another goat. The desert temples. These are definitely not as good as the ancient cities or bastions, but they're still a great structure. First off, they have 4 chests, which is definitely a lot better than some of these structures. I was gonna make a point to say that because I thought I was gonna be ranking stuff like the jungle temple or some of these other structures initially. I've got that's kind of low compared to some structures. But yeah, so assuming you have absolutely no idea what this is, you're not going to think anything of it. Now, of course, you have to avoid that trap, which is very easy, assuming you know about the TNT trap. There are good tools to TNT, of course. However, of course, there's all the 4 chests in there, which have really good loot. The loot in Desert Temples is really good. First off, they're a guaranteed source of at least a good 16, 17 pieces of TNT. So that's the guarantee thing you get from them. And of course, there's that little archaeology area. However, there's the full chest, which can have some pretty good things. You can have the exclusive Desert Temple armor trim. There's diamonds. There's iron. There's a lot of very useful things you can find in Desert Temples. They're a very good early game structure, and in mid game. In fact, if you're in the early to mid game, you are very unlikely to not find something helpful. You can get saddles. Well, and saddles are very helpful since you can also find a camel, and if you explore a little further, there's a lot of really good things in Desert Temples in the full chest that you can find. They're also good for TNT, and there's a little archaeology area in the temple after 1.20. So, which by the way, it's one of the best archaeology loot of all the archaeology structures. I say the archaeology loot from the Desert Temple is probably one of the best, since you can get like diamonds. Even if you don't like the pots and like that pot thing, you can still you have a chance of getting diamonds, so it's still worth excavating. Overall, there's a lot of really good loot to find in Desert Temples. There's a reason why everyone gets excited to find one, at least unless they're like very late game. Now we're at the other desert structure, the Desert Well. Yeah, I mean, if I was doing this like before 1.20, I would put this in like battle. I'd still say the game is better with them because they're local decoration. Now, I mean, now they added archaeology to it, which I'm really glad they did. I don't think the archaeology isn't as good as Desert Temple since you can't find diamonds, and I don't think I like the pottery shards as much. But it's still cool to excavate. I still think it's worth excavating because the pottery shards are pretty cool, and I don't know, it's still kind of a passable structure. I might put it in okay. You know what? I think I'll put it in okay. I think it's an okay structure. I'm considering putting it in passable, but the archaeology can be kind of fun. It's kind of cool to see what shows and stuff you can find. The problem is that you can't find diamonds, and yeah, the Desert Temples do have better archaeology because you can also find like TNT and stuff like that. So the archaeology, apart from shows, isn't as good since you can only find like 6 emeralds. However, I don't know. I'll put it in okay for now, but like the very bottom of okay. And also, I know that it's not good to be doing interruptions. I know it's not good to be doing interruptions, but my computer is like almost dying. So that kind of sucks. I'll look for a charger, but as I do that, let's see if I can continue my ranking as I look for a charger. Okay, I'm ranking N-Cities and N-Ships separately because that's how this tier list is built. So N-Ships are, of course, superior. I don't think this is going to be controversial. Of course, the main reason people go to N-Cities is for the 25% chance that they'll spawn an N-Ship. And yeah, N-Ships are easily one of the best structures in the game. They're the only N structure, which should probably change. But until I change it, of course, N-Cities. Do you guys know where my oh, there it is. From my computer charger, so yeah. Sorry for that interruption. But yeah. This just feels wrong. Maybe I should re-record this. Whatever. I think it's kind of funny that's there. Makes it feel more genuine, in my opinion. So, of course, the loot in the chest is pretty cool. Of course, all the good things about N-Cities can be said about N-Ships. You can find some good loot in the chest. Shulkers can be good. But, of course, the thing that differentiates N-Ships from N-Cities, apart from the fact there's a couple less chests, because of course there is, but it's a small structure. But of course, the Elytra, one of the best items in the entire game, is found at N-Ships. That alone makes it one of the best structures in the game. People really want the Elytra to be nerfed. Mojang almost did, but people just love it. The Elytra is literally one of the best items in the entire game. It makes traveling so much easier, which is a big part of this game. Like, you have to travel to find things, and it completely makes the traveling problems go away. The N-Ship is an amazing structure. We're ranking the two mine shafts separately. So first, the Badlands mine shaft. Now, what I'm about to say about the Badlands mine shaft can be said about the other one as well. I will say the mine shaft in the Badlands is better because it can be found above ground, which can be helpful. Better than finding it like deep in a cave, in my opinion. Now, mine shafts, they have pretty good loot. They have a good deal of chests. The chests can have some pretty good loot, including name tags, notch apples, and diamonds, and iron. all cool things. Minecraft, I think, can also expose ores, I think. And, of course, they're a good source of rails. So if you like building Minecraft's rail systems, which in my opinion are completely pointless since it's barely faster than sprinting. Like, I think the work put into building a Minecraft system is just not pointless since it's slightly faster than sprinting. Although it could be helpful since you don't actually have to do anything, so you could go away from your computer while you do it. But I don't know. Depends on you personally. I don't really find minecarts that useful. However, it's worth mentioning. And of course, even if you don't like that stuff, the chest loot is still pretty good. It can sometimes expose like ores, or I don't think that's as much in the Badlands Mineshaft, but it's still a good structure. I don't think it's great. I think it's a perfect good structure. End cities are definitely great. I don't know if they're as good. They're better than desert temples. They're not as good as ancient cities or bastions, but they're better than temples. I don't know. I feel like a lot of the loot, except for like shulkers, some of the loot can, like a lot of loot is like really good. There's like enchanted diamond stuff. It really depends on how good you are during this time. Because like if you're in the end defeating the Ender Dragon, a lot of the loot in the city is already too good for you. However, that's not always the case. First off, there's the shulkers. And shulker boxes are very helpful. Very helpful. However, the loot can be pretty good. It really depends on how good you are at this point. Because some people have, like, full enchanted netherite armor by the time they're fighting the Ender Dragon. It really depends on how good you are. But loot can still be helpful. The Ender chests are helpful. There's still some helpful loot in the end cities. I think they have some really good loot in them. Of course, they have some really good loot in them. I don't know how helpful it is compared to, like... Because I feel like at the stage you are... when you find an end ship. But the loot is way better than desert temples. I don't know what stage you'd actually be when you find one in the game. You might already be too good for any of that stuff. However, if your armor is fully enchanted, you can find stuff with mending, which is always helpful. You can find some pretty good gear. So, I'd say the end ship loot is definitely very great. Also, the shulkers, shulker boxes are great too. It's a great structure. The loot is great, assuming you're not too good for any of it. And the shulkers are great. And cities are a great structure. Not the main reason you travel the end, but still a great addition. Igloos. 50% of them are absolute trash. The other 50%, it's kind of cool if there's like an in-game tutorial for killing zombie villagers. I kind of like that they have like an in-game tutorial. I think it's pretty creative how they did that with like the in-game, with like that tutorial for killing a zombie villager. I think that's pretty creative. I kind of wish it was more than half of the igloos though, but I guess it makes sense. You know, it's just a little bit of a cool find. You're not gonna find anything too useful in them though. I'd still say I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't pass them per se. I'd still say they're passable really. There's not anything too useful. I would still check one out because you can still get like a free gold apple, and maybe some other things. But it's still a very passable structure. It's not that good. Jungle temples. At least 30 to 40% of the time you find these, you're not gonna find anything good. And this is like the very early game when you have like stone tools, when you have like stone to iron tools. Maybe when you have like a couple iron tools, stone tools. 30 to 40% of the time, you're not going to find anything useful at all. However, jungle temples can have some good... For one thing, they have some decent redstone stuff, so if you like redstone, they could give you a little head start on getting redstone equipment and stuff like that. However, mainly, the initial chest you find can have anything up to the unique jungle temple smithing template, to diamonds. And there was actually one time I did a jungle temple and I found like 3 diamonds, which is really cool. So you can find some good early game loot in them. They're definitely not as good as desert temples, not at all, but you can still find some pretty good early game loot. So I'd still say they're a good structure. I'd say that they're not as good as mine shafts, but they're still a good structure because you can find some good loot in them. They're still fun to like check out, see what loot you can find. You can find anything from gold to diamonds to the unique smithing template. I'd say they're a good structure because you can find some good loot. You can, of course, get absolutely nothing from them, and it's a lot easier to get nothing from them than it is to get nothing from minecarts, from mine shafts, or desert temples, or end cities, or any of this stuff. They're a pretty basic structure. While you can find some good things, I'm still gonna put them in good. Now we have the cave mineshaft that isn't the Badlands, the older, the more iconic mineshaft. It's a little less good. Of course, everything I said about the Badlands mineshaft can be said about this. A little different wood variant. Badlands mineshafts can be more. Now they both actually have a cave spider spawner, which makes them a little dangerous, but also kind of cool for making farms. However, that's something I probably should have said about both of them. I'd say that the Badlands one is better because they can be a source of wood if you like spawn a Badlands and you think it might take you a while before you find a different place. They can be a good source of like maybe a little bit of food, some wood. This mine shaft doesn't have those advantages. However, everything I said about this mine shaft can be said about this one. Everything said about Badlands mine shaft can be said about the old mine shaft. That you can find some good loot, some good minecart stuff. I'd say it's still a good structure. Now we have dungeons. This is the iconic Minecraft structure here. Dungeons are the iconic Minecraft structure. These have existed since before the game actually came out, before the 1.0 update. Of course, they have 2 chests, which most of the time are going to have nothing useful. However, assuming you like building farms, assuming you actually know how to build XP farms, this can be helpful for that. However, I'm thinking about using that little factoid to promote them to good. However, the loot is just terrible. Well, not terrible, but it's not that good. And the usefulness of this depends on if you want to build an XP farm out of it. I don't know. I'm going to put it in okay. It's not better than Desert Wells, but still okay. I might promote it, though. I might promote it. Oh, Nether Fortresses. These are the iconic Nether structure. These came out way before Bastions did. These were 1.0 structure, the game release structure. These are way better. They're not better than Bastions. I mean, the loot isn't really as good. The chests definitely aren't even near as good. However, you do need this for 2 crucial things. 1, getting to the end, because you need it for blaze powder. You need it for blaze rods and blaze powder. 2, you need them for wither skeletons and skulls, so you can spawn a wither. They're a great structure. I'll put them like here. I say they're better than ancient cities. No, actually, yeah, they're definitely better. I'd say better than ancient cities since like, I actually need them. I'd say this is the top of the good tier. This is the bottom, I guess. That's a little confusing. Yeah, that really much is. This is probably the least good in the great tier. It's a little confusing. You know what? We're not doing anything from worst to best. However, I'll put blaze rods of Nether Fortresses in the good tier and not in the great tier because they all are very good for getting blaze rods and wither skeleton skulls. They're very good for that 2 things. While Chelsea isn't very good, like at all, I think that of course, they're very important for accessing the end. And honestly, though, they're just a great structure overall. I'll put them in the great tier. I'm not even going to try and like do a ranking for most the best thing while doing this, which I try and do when I do tiers. Like I have like a bottom of a tier and the top. But I don't really want to like organize all that and like come up with that. So I'm just going to do the basic tier list of these tiers. But Nether Fortresses are definitely a great structure. Now, this is like barely even considered a structure, but fossils, they have one use. One use. It is bone blocks. That's their only use. Okay, they can be useful for bone meal. Bone blocks are good for bone meal, so I can't put it in bad. And it's better than igloos, but it's still passable. Okay, this is going to be so damn controversial. Why am I actually considering putting this in bad? I mean, I have to use it bad too eventually. I don't know if I'll use it for this, but no, it's so much better than igloos. I don't know. I mean, bone meal is generally more useful. And now I'll put it above the fossils, but ocean monuments just aren't that good in my opinion. Sure, they're easily one of the coolest structures. They're just so cool to just randomly find. How the loot, especially like you have to like fight 3 Elder Guardians. The fact like you have to kill 3 Elder Guardians to reach the loot, and the loot is only 8 gold blocks, which 8 times 9. I'm gonna have to do a couple simple bits of simple math to figure out how many ingots that is. 72. In case I forgot, and one gold block doesn't give you 9 gold ingots. I think it does. And you get 72 gold ingots from one ocean monument. And that's the only good thing you get. Well, sure, you can also get that, like, tide armor trim, which is kind of cool. But, man, it's just an armor trim. Come on. Armor trims are kind of cool, but come on, there are better armor trims. There are definitely better armor trims than that one. And, I mean, it's 8 gold blocks. Come on, like, you have to fight 3 Yellow Guardians. And especially since if you're on Bedrock Edition, which is the edition I play, if you're on Bedrock Edition, you can't even, like, use doors to breathe. Which means that, like, which means that it's a lot easier for you to drown. And you have to, like, do all that work, killing all those Yellow Guardians, and doing all that work just for 8 gold blocks. Just, I guess 9. Oh, yeah, it's 9. So 9 times 9. It's 9 gold blocks, I think. It's 8 or 9. And now the only use I could even think of for that many gold ingots is really for training with piglins. But if you're at that point, you could just find a bastion. Which, one, you don't have to fight anything. You don't actually have to. If you're a good enough player, you can avoid fighting any hostile mobs. 1. 2, there's more gold blocks. 3, there's actual loot other than gold blocks, which ocean monuments do not in fact have. The only loot is like 8 or 9 gold blocks. I just don't think the loot is enough to really justify. I think if anything needs an update, it's an ocean monument. I think of all the structures in this game, the one that needs an update the most are the ocean monuments. I just don't think they're good enough. I just don't. Like, 8, 9 gold blocks is not enough to really justify going in here. Maybe I could see myself going in here just for fun, because it is kind of fun, like fighting those Guardians and stuff. But let's face it, unless you're training with piglins, you have no other need for that amount of gold. And if you're at that point, you can just raid a bastion. So I'm putting it in passable. Now we have the village. This is the best structure in the game. Better than end ships. This is the best structure. Villages are like the only structure here that are good for every game level. They're good for early games, for bed, early shelter, early iron. They're good for the mid and late games, for trading. They're good for the middle and even the late game for trading and getting bullet training books. Of course, the villager training is gonna be nerfed pretty soon once that villager training balance experimental feature finally becomes not experimental. I have no idea when that's gonna be, but as of that update, they're still important for getting all the enchanted books. Villages are easily the most important structure in the entire game. They're good for trading. They're good for early game shelter. Of course, you are probably not even going to be able to use villages to get mending and unbreaking anymore since there's no village for those biomes. So you're just going to have to, you won't even be able to use villagers. You're probably just going to kill, all of us are probably just going to kill a zombie villager there. However, these are still very important structures for getting enchanted books and for the early game, for of course all the early game stuff, hay bales, and later game for all the stuff training has to offer. These are a truly amazing structure. Now we have ruin pools. These are the only structure that spawn in both the Nether and the Overworld. They're a good early game structure. A lot of loot isn't that great. If like in a very early game you can find something a little helpful. And the gold is kind of nice if you're about to go in and trade with piglins. Also, you can sometimes get you can get like about a fourth as much gold as you get in the ocean monuments, which might not seem like a lot, but you can get that amount of gold without fighting anyone. So yeah, ruin portals are they're good for like early game accessing the Nether, assuming that you get lucky enough for the chest and the way the portal spawns. How most of you, I feel like most people aren't going to be building another portal from ruin portals. Like I never build another portal from ruin portals, because they just don't have enough materials to actually access Nether. Still, they're a good, like, little tutorial on how to access Nether if anyone's smart enough to figure it out. They are a pretty cool structure. I don't know. I'll put them in the very end of good, because loot isn't that good, and they don't even help you access Nether most of the time. But they're still, like, a good early game structure to get a couple early game equipment. I'd say they're still a good structure overall. Now we have shipwrecks. Honestly, though, how good these are really depends on how they spawn. I'm still going to put them like here in the good tier. This is the bottom of the good tier. This is the top. So I'm going to move. Yeah, we're having a Zexnate bomb on top of each tier. So I'm going to move this here. Yeah, that works. And these are better than desert wells, so yeah. But yeah, so really though, as the amount of good shipwreck spawn is really the good shipwrecks all depends on how they spawn. Because if they spawn a certain way, then they're not going to be as good. They may not have like a treasure or something. Now, they have 3 types of chests, shipwrecks. They have supply chests, which are absolutely terrible. They have a map chest, which would be kind of helpful towards finding buried treasure, which I'm going to talk about in a second. And, of course, the treasure chest, which can have iron, diamonds, the coast armor trim, a lot of helpful things. That chest, and of course map chest, because it can lead to buried treasure, all the reasons to raid this structure. They can have some very good loot. They can spawn either under the ocean, or they can sometimes be like short sail. They can be like sometimes like crash into the land, which is kind of cool. They're a good structure. They can have some good loot. They're a good structure. Buried treasure. You need a map, which you're mainly going to get from shipwrecks. Buried treasure is almost always going to be good. It always has a Heart of the Sea, which is good for building conduits. And it can also have gold, iron, and it will often have diamonds. So, a nice way of getting diamonds out mining. Honestly, though, they're a great structure. They're not as good as the temples, in my opinion, but they're still a pretty great structure. Finally, we have a use for the bad tier. There are people who consider this a structure. It just feels too natural on me, but since some people feel like this is a structure, I'm going to put it here. Amethyst geodes. They would be so much higher up if Amethyst was a little more useful than they are now. I'm so glad the game has them. The game's still better off with them than without them. They don't really hurt the game at all. However, I wish Amethyst would be more useful, dude. Okay, like, they're useful for tinted glass, which I guess can be helpful. Although, like, how many amethyst geodes can you actually get from an amethyst geode? They're good for that, which can be helpful sometimes if you're playing from something. You could build a spyglass. This is just around how bad amethyst is, because it really isn't that good, really. Sure, the amethyst blocks are kind of cool to build. They'd be a lot better, because I admit the amethyst shards themselves have some uses, like building tinted glass and maybe a spyglass and a couple other things. However, you can't even, you're only going to get at most like 20 from this entire thing, and you have to like completely come back, which is just annoying. And you can't craft the amethyst blocks back into amethyst shards, which is just really dumb. And of course, well, I mean, amethyst blocks do look kind of cool to build with. I don't know if they're absolutely terrible. I just say amethyst is just not useful enough for it to be any more than bad. Maybe I'll promote it. Maybe I should just promote it as passable, because I don't know. Nah, amethyst isn't that good. Oh, witch huts. I forgot these essentially. I wanted to use the bats here, and I was a little desperate, but then I remembered that witch huts exist. Yeah. Well, now I have to go over witch huts next. I'll keep this in bad for now. Witch huts are also bad. They're also bad. Maybe worse than amethyst geodes. They're good for one thing, and guess what that one thing is? Witch farms. One, it takes way too much effort to build one that most people don't even want to put in. Like, who actually wants to build like a big world eater to destroy like the entire area just to build a witch farm? Like, I know that the witch farm stuff can be helpful, but you can get all the stuff from raid farms, which are just easier to build, and that's the only use for these. That's what the use is for these ends. They don't even have a brewing stand. At least it could be helpful for getting a brewing stand in the game. They don't have that. I still say the game is better off with them, because they are kind of a cool structure to find. They're the only way to get black hats. But that's about it. So yeah, they're a bad structure. I don't know which one's worse, but they're both bad. Now, we have strongholds. Well, the loot is pretty crap. The stronghold, the only good loot, well, of course the libraries can have like an exclusive stronghold, which I think. But of course, the real reason, the only good thing about the stronghold is of course the portal room. You cannot access the end without this. And of course, you need to access the end to access the second best structure in the game. And of course, you need this to beat the Ender Dragon, get an Elytra, get choker boxes. Honestly, for all of that, I'm going to put it in great. I just don't think the structure alone, apart from that feature, isn't really that good though, so I'm gonna put it in the bottom of great. The thing, I would honestly probably put this in like passable or okay if it wasn't for that, for the fact you need it to go at the end. But since you do, it's at the bottom of great. However, everything apart from the portal isn't really that good. So yeah. Trail Ruins. This is completely dependent on you liking pottery shards. And I guess armor trims. If you like those completely customizable stuff, you're gonna love this structure. If you don't, well, you don't like this structure. Okay, so personally, I really do like the archaeology system, and I think it's pretty cool. We have a whole structure. But I am glad I didn't just add this structure and didn't add anything else. I am glad that they added the archaeology system to other structures. I'm glad I didn't just add this structure and then just not add archaeology to anything else. I'm glad they used it to update old structures, like one that really needed one. Now I really do like it. I think now trail ruins are pretty fun to excavate. The problem is that very frequently you're gonna find absolutely useless stuff like dye, paint, glass panes. You're gonna find a lot of useless stuff while excavating this. I'd say this is it's better than the mine shafts, maybe. And I'd say it is a pretty good structure. It's good if you like all the pottery shards that you get from it. If you like decorating your house with those, and if you like your if you like armor trims, the armor trims in here. And this is a pretty fun structure, and it's also just a fun structure to excavate, see what you can find. Still, though, well, the only reason to come here is for decorative things. So I don't know. I'm gonna put it since you can only get decorative things from here. I don't know where to put it. And I'd say, okay, it's better than Buried Treasure, and Strongholds are better than Buried Treasure. Are they better than Desert Temples? Yeah. You know what, you need them to access the end, though, then again. Yeah, they're better than those. I think. Let's see, this is hard to rank. Trial are actually hard to rank. And I'll put them here in great. It really depends on how. I think the trials are really fun to excavate. You can find some pretty cool things. I'm going to put them in great. Now, I'm ranking the 2 ocean rooms. I'm not going to be ranking any of this stuff since these are all variants. I don't want to do any ranking of variants. I'm making all the variants of villages the same, although these 2 are significantly worse than these 2. These 2 are worse than these 2, but whatever. Cold Ocean Ruins. First off, they have the chests, which can have some decent loot. They're also a good place to get tridents, since they're most often tridents most often spawn here. They can be a little dangerous to explore, assuming you're not careful. However, even if you didn't like the one chest they have, of course, there's now the archaeology feature, so you can now get pottery shards and other cool stuff. And I actually really, I'm just realizing how much I actually really like the pottery shards. And I think the Trail Ruins is as good as it was before. However, I'm going to put this. Honestly, if all it had was the chest, I'd probably put it a little lower than I am. And like the okay tier or something. But I really like the archaeology. I think the chest, it can have some good loot. It can have a big treasure map and some good loot. So I really like that. I think it can have some diamonds. I think, yeah, it can. So the loot's about as good as Shipwreck or something like that. Maybe not as good, but it's better than Jungle Temple loot. However, it's only one chest. However, it also has the archaeology feature. It has suspicious gravel, so you can get some pottery shards and stuff like that. There's still no sniff frag, so the warm mushrooms are better. The chest at loot is, I think, about the same. However, in the archaeology, in the suspicious sand, you can get some better shards. So in a suspicious gravel ocean ruin, you can get some pottery shards and some other things. However, here you can get some different pottery shards in the warm ocean ruins. And you can get a sniff rag. And I know the sniff isn't the best thing in the world. I made a whole video like a long time ago, like a year and a half ago. This way back when I still just recorded with my face talking and with me myself talking with like nothing over that. Like a long time ago, I made a video about why my sniff is underwhelming, but it's still a cool thing to find. And the sniffer can be kind of cool to use. Still though, I don't think you know what, I'll put them above the mine shafts because I really do like the archaeology feature that they have. So I really like the pottery shards you can get from them. I like the sniff rag, so I'll put them above the mine shafts in the good tier. I like the pottery shards you can get from here. I like the pottery shards from the cold warm oceans a little better than the cold, and the sniff rag makes them better than the cold. But the cold does have some pretty cool pottery shards and other things, so I'll put the cold a little lower than the warm. And of course, even apart from the archaeology stuff, there's still the chests, which can have some good loot, so they're both in the good tier. Now we have wooden mansions. These spawn in dark oak forests. I'm really hoping that they make a pale oak variant, since now they can spawn in pale oak forests. In the newest Bedrock beta preview, I'm a Minecraft Bedrock YouTuber, by the way. I play Bedrock Edition, so when I talk about things, I talk about them from Bedrock Edition standpoint. Although all the stuff came in Java too, so yeah. But now Minecraft Pale Oak forests are bigger, so I'm really hoping they make a Pale Oak wooden mansion. However, as of now they haven't. The wooden mansion, how good is it? So you can find some pretty cool things if you look around. There's some chests which loot isn't really that good. I think you can find a diamond block if you look hard enough, and you can find some kind of cool things if you look hard enough. However, the main reason people come here is, of course, the 3 to 4 evokers you can find. So this is a place to get at least 3 or 4 extra lives. Now, this is a good way of getting them instead of like doing raids or something. Like if you don't want to build like a raid, if you don't want to like do a raid, this is another good alternative to getting totems of undying. And if you're like in the early-ish game with like full iron armor and you're careful enough, you're a good enough player, you can come here and get some early game totems of undying. You have to be a pretty good player for that. I don't think I could because I'm not good enough. But I don't think I'm that good of a Minecraft player. But you could get some early game totems from here, and you can get them before you. Now, the thing that's kind of bringing them lower, though, is the raids. And, of course, they become completely useless once you build a raid farm, though. Once you're at that point, most structures become useless. So, now you could say about a lot of structures. However, you can also do a raid pretty early on. You can use a totally different structure on Power Rank to do a raid. However, these can be a little safer doing a raid. And it depends on what you get to first. But since you can get some fairly early game totems from here, you can get some other cool things. I'm going to put them in great above the buried treasure, but not above anything else. Sorry, one mansion. Now we have pillager outposts. The loot isn't very good. The loot is pretty trash. I mean, you can get goat horns, that unique armor trim. However, come on, the only reason you come here is to kill that pillager with that flag on top of it and start a raid. And they're essential for raid farms, which are like the best farm in the entire game. And they have all the qualities of witch farm whilst giving even more things. So you're completely useless. And you don't have to build a world either, so yay. However, though, unless you want to build a raid farm, unless you have the practical know-how to actually build a raid farm, and unless you want to, that's the only good thing about pillager outposts. So, I'll put them in okay. Honestly, though, my knowledge on the new 1.21 structure is very limited. I know the 1.21 came out a few months ago. I wasn't even really playing when these came out. I know they have like the breezes. You can get those like breeze things, and you complete like those trials. My knowledge on this structure is honestly pretty limited. However, from what I know, you can like, complete those trials. You can get like some loot from that. I'm pulling them in great. I know like you can complete those like trials. You can get like those breeze things that like elevate you up, that like let you jump up. You can get the mace. And you can complete some other trials and like get some other cool things. So I'll put him in like great, I think. Though I don't really know what to really put him. So actually I'm not gonna rank him because I don't even know anything about him. But anyway, that's everything except for the trial ruins. Sorry, I just don't know enough about you. I'll put them in the great tier. I think they probably have some great loot. I know you can get like the mace, those blaze things, the breeze things. Yeah, I'll put them in great. So this is the official Minecraft structure tier list. I'm not ranking any of these things. These are exactly as good as this Fairy Fossil. And these are all village rares. I don't really feel like ranking them. Anyway, peace out. What do you think of my ranking? Would you do anything differently? If so, please share it in the comment section below. I really appreciate it. Well, I don't know how much it would be really cool if you guys could give me your own opinion. I love to hear other people's opinions on things. So if you want to share how you would do this list differently, please do. And of course, you can go to TubeMake or do this yourself. But if you have your own opinion, you have something you do differently, please tell me. I like to hear other people's opinions. Anyway, and if you have your own ranking you want to put in my comment section, I know people like to do that. Please do that. I'd like that. It would be cool if you did that. Anyway, I like to hear other people's opinions. Anyway, here's a button to sub to me. If you like my video, sub. No pressure. I mean, really, I don't care that much. I appreciate everyone who subs to me. So I'd appreciate that. And also, here's another tier list video you can watch. It's ranking Pixar movies, if you like those. And when I make another Minecraft tier list, there'll be that. So, yeah, I'm going to make a food tier list. So when that comes out, it'll be here. Though, if I post this before I make that, this will be my Pixar movie tier list I made. Anyway, with that being said, peace.